Safe fun in the sun. We are so glad to have you here with us. Can you guys believe how fast this year is flying by? I cannot. Hopefully, your summer is off to a wonderful start. As we get started, just want to say please feel free to stand up, stretch, take us for a walk, whatever feels best for you. All right, so let's talk about June. So in June, we focused on dental health. We had a really great presentation from Dr. Hale. If you didn't have a chance to make it, I highly recommend watching the recording. It was phenomenal. It was such a great presentation on dental health. We connected the dots between whole health and dental health. So we were able to show that your mouth reveals more than you think. We learned that by taking care of your mind helps your mouth, and taking care of your mouth supports your confidence as well as your overall well-being. So that's why in July, as we continue our journey to a healthier you this year, we are going to put our confidence to the test, and we are going to learn how to have safe fun in the sun, improving your confidence and your knowledge on summer safety. All right, so what are we going to talk about? Great question. We're going to do some Sun Safety 101 information. We'll talk about survival for the summertime, everything from water to bug bites and beyond. Then we'll talk about tips and tricks for all ages. So everyone from our kiddos to our seniors to our pets and loved ones. And we will wrap up with some Care First resources. All right, so Sun Safety 101. Before we get into it, we're going to start with a poll question. So would love to know from you all, how much time would you say you spend in the sun daily? It can range from, maybe an average of what you do during the week and the weekend. Maybe you're somebody that works indoors or you're somebody that works outdoors. Would just love to understand how much time we're spending outside. Yeah, and feel free, you can put it in the poll question that pops up if you'd like to put it in the chat, however best. All right. Give it another second or two. If you see my eyes glance, I'm just looking at my other screen. It looks like a lot of us are an hour or less a day. Some of us are around 2 to 5 hours. Some of us are 5 to 8 hours. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for participating in that. That's really helpful for me to kind of understand as we talk through this. So, why does sun safety matter? Next slide. Well, it matters because skin cancer is the most common diagnosed cancer in the United States. In fact, there's an estimate of 1 in 5 of us will develop a type of skin cancer by the age of 70. It's a pretty crazy, staggering statistic, right? And there are several different types of skin cancers, but the one you may have heard of is melanoma. That is the deadliest form of skin cancer, and it causes roughly 8,500 deaths a year. So obviously sun safety matters because we want to prevent skin cancer, but in addition, too much sun exposure can cause premature aging. So a lot of the times we blame the sun for things like wrinkles or sunspots, but it's not, sometimes we play, age, but it's not actually age, it's the sun. Too much sun will also weaken your immune system. So the amount of UV radiation can do things like reduce your body's ability to fight things like infections and illnesses. And it's not just our skin that's at risk, but also long-term exposure can cause issues to the eyes, cataracts, macular degeneration, and photokeratitis. I believe that's how you say it, which is sunburn of the eye. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, but when you have sunburns early in childhood, it is going to increase the risk of skin cancer later in life. All right, so learning a little bit more about sun safety. I did not know much about UV radiation, honestly, until the last couple of years. So if you're like me, this might be a little bit enlightening, but UV radiation, otherwise coined as the invisible danger. So UV radiation, it comes from the sun and we can't see it. It's naked to the visible eye. There are several different types of UV radiation: UVA, UVB, and UVC. UVA will penetrate deep into the skin, which contributes to aging, as well as increasing our risk for skin cancer. UVB is what causes sunburn and also plays a key role in developing skin cancer. And then UVC is absorbed by the atmosphere and doesn't reach the ground. So a couple things to talk about. UV is strongest between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. So just something to consider if you're planning, on a hike or to go to the lake or swimming or something like that. And UV rays from the sun can damage skin in just as little as 15 minutes. So we'll talk about in a minute sunscreen and things such as that, but really it's not to scare anyone, it's more to educate those. You can check what the UV radiation is going to be by looking at the Weather Channel or your weather app and determining if it's safe for you and your family. So speaking of sun protection, so I don't know about you guys, but I go to the sunscreen section in Target and there's like all these different kinds and it can be somewhat overwhelming, but let's simplify it. So basically, the higher the SPF, the more protected you and your family members will be. So if you purchase an SPF 15, that is going to block 93% of UVB rays. If you do an SPF 30, you're going to get 97%. And if you purchase a 50, that's going to block out 98%. It is important to know, though, that not one sunscreen is going to be able to block out, 100%. So it's really important to do things like reapply as well as add on extra layers. Now, I have been, in this wellness industry for, gosh, today's my 15-year wedding anniversary, and it was before that. So I would say about 18 years. And I am all for spending time outside. I think it's a great way to be physically active. I think it's great for your mental health and well-being. And I think we should do it year round. Thank you. Happy anniversary. And I think with the help of sunscreen, we can do that safely. So just a mental note, the higher your SPF, the greater your protection will be from those UVB rays that cause the sunburn, as well as the increased risk for skin cancer. Our advice, and I say our advice, me and the CDC, is to put on a thick layer of sunscreen to all exposed areas of the skin. So you want to get help for hard to reach places like your back, maybe, your lower back, anything like that. You want to choose a high SPF protection and you want to reapply often. They recommend at least every 2 hours. You also want to be mindful of water resistant types of skin or sunscreen, because that can help you if you're sweating or if you're swimming or things such as that. I'm also one that's like a big proponent of things like wearing protective hats. They don't have to be, my husband will wear a ball cap where I'll wear, a cute fancy hat, but that will protect our skin as well as our face. We have the sunscreen to protect our bodies. I've purchased these recently, which these are for my kids to be able to apply to their own face, because I feel like when you spray them, one, you're like fighting a little moving wasp. And two, you're not necessarily getting everything. You can do things like wear your sunglasses, which will protect your eyes. So by the time you have your sunglasses, your hat, your sunscreen, you can add on SPF lip balm as well. You're really going to add a lot of protection. My kids also have some of these types for those really high UV days where it's a bathing suit that's covers a lot more. and they can swim in them and things like that. So just some ideas of different things that you can do. Always shade is wonderful, or, not choosing the peak times to go out as well. All right, moving on. So we have talked about the importance of skin safety. We know that skin cancer is very common. We've talked about UV radiation, as well as the importance of protecting our skin when outside by using sunscreen and things like that. But we also want to be on top of checking our skin. So we should be seeing a dermatologist annually. If your dermatologist recommends a different, period of time, whether it's twice a year or maybe every other year, you want to go with that recommendation. But the purpose is to detect skin changes early. So you, in collaboration with your dermatologist, can work as a team to do this. You can use the ABCDE rule of thumb. And what you're doing is you're checking your skin periodically. And it's not just during the summertime. It's actually really good to check during the winter months as well, when it hasn't had as much skin exposure. So A, you're going to look for symmetry. B, you're going to look for irregular borders. C, you're going to look for color changes. D is a growing diameter. And then E is any evolving changes. So, couple things to talk about here. Obviously, it can be a little anxiety ridden to go to a dermatologist if you think that a mole is changing. But the good news is, especially with melanoma, which is our most deadliest form of skin cancer, when it is detected early, it has a 99% 5-year survival rate. Should I say that again? Even when detected early, melanoma, our most deadliest form of skin cancer, has a 99% 5-year survival rate. So it's better to say, this looks a little funky, I'm going to get it checked out, than to just continue to wait and wait and wait if you have a bad feeling about it. One of the really good tips that I've learned recently is to take, photos of your body. It's the same thing a dermatologist is going to do. They're going to take a picture of like your face and your back and your arms, so that year over year they can refer back to those pictures. You can do the same thing. If you think, this is new, has this changed? You can take a picture and you can kind of watch it. Always reach out to your dermatologist again. Early detection is the best. And then another thing is checking head to toe and literally in between. So moles can appear in the scalp. If you have, long hair, you definitely want to make sure that you or someone is going through your hairline every so often, all the way to your toes. I use myself for an example. I go every year. I had not noticed a mole. It was just a mole on the back of my ankle, and it came back as irregular, and could be, pre-melanoma. So they removed it. And I remember asking her, like, really? Like the back of my ankle? I don't even think that gets sun. And she was like, yeah, it's very common on feet, toes, ankles, legs, things like that. So just make sure you're checking head to toe. Use this rule of thumb. And it's never too early to start teaching your kids and your family this as well. All right, so it's not just a sunburn. There's some health issues or serious health risks that can come up during the summer times when we are exposing ourselves to too much heat or sun, things such as that. So dehydration, I'm sure, is probably one that we've all heard of. It's really important that we drink a ton of water throughout the day. My girls are still in sports, so they're out in this 90-degree heat playing lacrosse. I always make sure that they're drinking enough water. There's ways to determine if you are getting dehydrated. So if you start experiencing dry mouth or fatigue cramps, or especially the urine test. Once you go to the bathroom, if your urine is a dark yellow or brown, that indicates that you're not getting enough water. So just make sure that we're hydrating as much as possible. long-term or higher degree sunburn and skin damage. So this is where it's not just, a little sunburn. This is multiple sunburns, or multiple layers of the skin being burnt. So you can see this little graphic, first degree, second degree, and then third degree, and then how that sunburn affects the different layers of the skin. And the ones that go really deep, obviously, are the higher degree burn. So we know that multiple sunburns can lead to premature skin aging, as well as our exposed risk to skin cancer. And it is believed that for every 5 severe sunburns in childhood, it can increase your chances of skin cancer by 80%. So while some of us are a little bit older, we can't necessarily go back and fix what we did growing up. We can definitely start now, but also teaching the younger generation. I get mad at myself all the time when I think about I was a lifeguard growing up and I spent summers outside. What I wish I would have known then, but I know now. So I'm doing the best I can now. Some more health risks that pertain to summer. We want to have safe fun in the sun, but we have to be mindful. So we had talked about dehydration. There's also heat exhaustion. So this occurs when the body literally overheats. You can experience dizziness, headaches, nausea, sweating, and more. This is preventable as well as treatable. So doing things like staying hydrated and reducing sun exposure, especially if you're experiencing the symptoms, you want to come indoors, you want to get in the AC, drink a lot of water, allow your body to cool down, because heat stroke could be kind of the next one, and that is life-threatening. This occurs when the body completely overheats. So when your body gets to 104 degrees or higher, there's symptoms such as confusion, sweating, you have a rapid heartbeat and pulse, you feel like fainting. This is an emergent scenario. This is a 911, because if it's not treated quickly, there can be damage to the brain, the heart, the kidneys, as well as the muscles. And again, not saying any of this to scare us, but to really educate us and empower us as we go into the full summer, having as much knowledge and awareness as possible. All right, so our next section is summer survival. So water bugs and beyond. I honestly, growing up, did not always know what the different color flags meant, especially at the beach. So this was really insightful. When you are going somewhere to swim, specifically beaches, oceans, large body of waters, you want to never swim alone. You always want to be near a lifeguard or have a buddy of some kind. That way you guys can look out for each other when it comes to swimming safely. You also want to practice any safety protocols. Maybe you're on a jet ski or a boat. You're going to want to have a life jacket. You are going to want to just pay attention to swimming zones and what is going on. At the beach specifically, they have colored flags. So green indicates it's safe. Swim at your leisure. Yellow is caution, and red is dangerous. And this is indicating things like the current is getting stronger, and we want to be mindful of our swimming. Purple I thought was really fun. Purple is for things that could wash up on shore. So things like jellyfish, horseshoe crabs, any shark sightings, anything like that. You want to be mindful of hazardous marine life. And then black is a do not swim. It's a do not swim. That's the whole story. If your kids give you a hard time, say it's on black, it's not me. They said it's not safe to swim. Something a memory that was always stuck with me was when my older sister and older brother were caught in a rip current, and I was younger, but I still remember my parents had educated us very early on about what to do in this scenario. And it was very helpful that day and could hopefully be a helpful hint to you guys if you have not heard this before. But when there's a rip current, it will try to pull you away from the shore. If you get caught in one, you do not want to fight it. You don't want to try to swim straight to the shore. You want to literally try to swim or float parallel to the shore until the rip current has died down. It's probably one of the best life-saving tips. So just something to think about with that. Now, I love summer. I think my favorite time of year is like the July timeframe, because that's when we go to the beach and we go on vacation. And then Christmas. Like I'm a summer or a Christmas girl. But the one thing I don't love about summer is bugs. Anybody else with me? I'm just not a bug person. It's definitely my least favorite part of summer. It's not something that you can control though. Agreed. Thank you. So things like mosquitoes, they can carry harmful diseases. I'm sure we all know this. Some things you can do is cover your arms and legs when you're outside to avoid bites. You can also, oh, I do like lightning bugs. That's a good one. You can also, there's different bug sprays out there. There is candles that you can light. So there are some tricks, but covering up the skin is probably the best one. Ticks, funny story about ticks, I'll tell you guys in a minute. But we know ticks can carry different diseases. So you want to do things like stay on clear trails. You want to avoid tall grass, and you definitely want to check for ticks after outdoor activities. And last but not least is bees and wasps. I did not know this, but over 2 million people are allergic to bees. That's a really high number. So if you're one of those people or a family member, always have an updated EpiPen with you. You never know when you're going to encounter a bee. A good lesson that I don't think I learned until older is that you don't want to swat or wave your arms at a bee. It makes them, want to come after you a little bit more. You just want to stay calm and move slow. If you don't want bees around you, maybe you're going on a picnic or you're having a cookout or something like that, you can do things like avoid having sweet drinks, uncovered food, not a lot of sweet scents. That will be helpful. I mentioned this. I think I did. We live in Harford County, Maryland. We have 4 acres and we're very lucky. It's all usable land, but we're still in the country. So we still have to be mindful of ticks. And last night we were sitting in my daughter's room. It was my husband, both of our daughters and our dog just talking. And my husband reaches down on the ground and grabs a tick just on the ground. Chances are it came in with the dog, but it's a really good reminder that every time you come in, you should be checking. So check for ticks after being outdoors. This is going to be helpful if you've never had one or you don't necessarily know how to remove it. It's 4 quick, easy, simple steps. And I told my husband last night, I was like, wait, I know this. I'm getting ready to talk about this. The first is to get tweezers to remove them. Obviously, a clean pair is ideal. You want to pinch the tick at the head and then pull upwards. And then you're going to want to gently clean that skin afterwards. You want to dispose of the ticks by submerging them in alcohol and then putting them in the trash or flushing them down the toilet. Checking not only yourself, your kids, but also the pets is very, very, very important. And it takes just a couple of seconds. We know that ticks come with different types of illnesses and things like that. So if you think you have had a tick bite, or maybe your kid, a good idea to call the primary care provider or the pediatrician and say, look, I found this type of tick, approximately this long after being outside. What is your recommendation? All right. And then Oh yeah, I have heard that too. Putting them in a baggie in case anything arises and you need the tick. That's a good one too. Yeah, especially if you've had a tick bite. Um, all right, so from swimming safety and bug safety to fire safety, we are like covering it all today. So fire safety, we want you to stay safe, but we want you to stay sizzling. So being fully present when dealing with fire, it can literally be life or death. So grilling with caution. I love grilling season because it means I am not cooking. My husband does the grilling. Um, and it's also, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but so many healthy food options. Anyways, keeping the grill at least 10 feet away from any type of building or structure or anything that could catch on fire is really important. You never want to leave the grill, even for a second. That's why it's really great to keep a bottle of water or a fire extinguisher right nearby. And then afterwards, definitely clean grease to prevent flare-ups. Fire pits are so fun, especially, 4th of July, and you got the s'mores and things like that, but you still want to not risk it and be as safe as possible. So only use a fire pit in clear open areas and be mindful of wind because it just takes a little bit of wind for that fire to catch. So you want to keep your kids and your pets at least 3 feet away, and you never want to light it by using gasoline or a lighter fluid. And then, of course, when you're completely done, you want to extinguish the fire before you leave the area. And last but not least, it's 4th of July is in 2 days. Fireworks safety. So definitely don't want to allow young children to handle any type of fireworks, even for a cute picture. I'm sure with AI, we can get our kids smiling and, drop in a little sparkler. Keeping a bucket of water nearby, just like what we talked about with the grill. And also that's good for the fire pit as well. With fireworks, getting your money worth is not always like the best idea. So if your firework goes out, you never want to relight it. Just let it go. And then always review and follow any local laws or recommendations as well. Would love to know if you guys are planning to do fireworks. Feel free to put that in the chat, or what you're doing for 4th of July. All right. Poll question. So we were just talking about the grill. Would love to know if you guys know, it's a little quiz, I would say, what temperature should chicken be grilled to? This is going to help us kind of move into our food and safety segment. All right. It looks like most of us are saying 165 degrees. So let's see on the next slide if that is correct. And it is, yep. So with food safety, we want to keep everything cool, clean, and safe. We want to be mindful of the temperatures that we're using, um, keeping things refrigerated that need to be cold. We want to know that bacteria grows really fast between 40 and 140 degrees. And when we're grilling, we want to make sure that we're cooking our meat as best as possible so that we can prevent and eliminate any foodborne illnesses, because nobody wants to get, sick off of a chicken kebab on 4th of July. So chicken should be cooked at 165. Any beef or pork is 145. The ground meats are 160. And then another thing, and again, with, this is just such good timing, 4th of July and lots of celebrations coming up. You don't want to leave food out for more than 2 hours. So after you're done eating, even if you're having a party, at least packaging up things and putting them in the fridge is probably the safest practice if you are going to want to reheat and eat anything later on. And then I would be remiss if I did not bring up fruits and vegetables. I'm just such a big believer in eating nutrients and filling our bodies with good, healthy foods full of fiber and vitamins and minerals. And the best time of year to do that is summer because the produce is at its peak. It's fresher, it's tastier, and it's definitely more affordable. You can do things this summer when you're having parties, or maybe you're just shopping for the week, supporting local farmers, whether it's farmers markets or going to a local farm or stands, anything like that. There are top picks when it comes to fruits and vegetables. So things like berries, melons, peaches, plums, cherries, and nectarines. I would eat all of those right now. Veggies, things like corn, zucchini, cucumber, tomatoes, peppers, green beans, and more. You can eat them literally just as they are. I love nothing more than going and shopping on the weekends and then cleaning all of the fruits and vegetables, putting them in Tupperware so that my kids, as they're running in and out of activities and play dates, they can just grab and open a big thing of fresh raspberries or strawberries, sliced peppers, things like that. So you can just eat them as they are. You can add them to things like salads, smoothies, or yogurts. I love nothing more than a grilled vegetable as a healthy side. So just some different ideas here that you can think about. All right, tips and tricks for all ages. So we're already on our third, almost last section, and this section is really going to talk about keeping our loved ones as safe as possible. So starting with kids, sunny days and safe plays. I love that. Drowning happens to be the #1 cause of injury death for children ages 1 through 4. So it is a very real and scary statistic and possibility. So we always recommend supervising near pools, lakes, playgrounds, anywhere that could have any possible body of water. Maybe you're somebody that has a pool and you're having a pool party. It's not a bad idea to hire a lifeguard so you have an extra kind of layer of watching. It literally takes seconds. I was the lifeguard for 6 or 7 summers. There are some saves that I have ingrained in my memory of, I would scan this way, and by the time I scanned back this way, a kid had gone in the deep end and couldn't swim. So really horrible. Things like swim lessons for little ones, they can reduce drowning risk by up to 88%. So definitely something to think about. It's an investment, but it's definitely worth it. Let's see. Use safety materials. So we talked about things like sunscreens, insect repellent, so the bug spray. With kids, investing in the little hats, the long swimsuits is always a good idea. The swim shoes as well protects their little feet. My kids are getting older. I hate saying that. They're 9 and 11, but I am still on them. Like, are you wearing your helmet when you're on your bike? Things like that. We, again, live in the country. If you're on a four-wheeler, do you have your helmet on? Do you have the little harness in? Life jackets, all of those things, while they may be, not super cool, they're super safe. And that's what I like to say. And then knowing allergy risks. So whether it's you, your child has an allergy, or maybe you're watching a child that has an allergy, just knowing what it is and how to use that EpiPen. And then always having trusted adults that may possibly your kids may be in their care for. Lots of good little tips for our kids. And then for seniors, older adults are at a higher risk. 1 in 3 are sensitive to heat-related illnesses, so it's really great to kind of get ahead of it. So creating a heat emergency plan, essentially making an emergency contact list that has friends and family, caregivers, medical professionals, anyone that should be alerted should something happen. Making sure that we're prioritizing cool environments for our seniors. So air conditioning, shaded spots, fans, things like that. Even as silly as it is, umbrellas outside if you're watching a grandkid's sports activity, that's going to be helpful. And then if you are not able to access AC, finding public areas that do have it if it's not available for you, and being mindful of medications, because I think a lot of the time we don't necessarily think, but some medicines can increase sun sensitivity or dehydration risks. So we want to make sure that if our seniors, our loved ones are on those, that we have that extra little bit of information available. And just some safety tips: staying hydrated, so 8 or more glasses of water. Wearing light, loose fitted clothing is helpful, and just staying as cool as possible. All right. And summertime pet safety. I love this one. I don't know about you, but our dog is just as important as every member in our family. So some things to think about when it comes to our pets is you never want to leave a pet in a car, even when a window is cracked. Temperatures can arise super quickly. Maybe you run into the dry cleaners and it's cloudy. 30 seconds later, the cloud has passed and the sun is blaring. That can be very dangerous. You also want to limit exercising during peak hours. So essentially, when are you walking your dogs? First thing in the morning is great. Late afternoon and evening is great as well, because we want to be mindful of their paws and the pavement. So I love this, following the 5-second rule. If you cannot hold your hands on the pavement for 5 seconds, it's going to be too hot for your loved one's paws, your dogs, cats, whomever it is. So just be mindful of that. If you do need to take them for a walk, they do need to go out, try to find grassy areas is definitely an option. And then also, our animals can get heat stroke as well. So for them, it includes heavy panting, drooling, being lethargic, vomiting, and uncoordinated movement. So if you're watching your pet and they're experiencing any of these, it's definitely worth calling the vet and letting them know, but also doing kind of the same things, getting them in a cool area, giving them water, is very helpful. All right. So just to kind of like package it all together, we talked, I was gonna say that somebody just put in, I can see some comments, use booties. They do make booties for dogs, which are so cute, which helps protect their paws from the pavement. But let's stay safe this summer. Let's have the best summer we can possibly have. Let's stay protected from things like the sun by wearing our sunscreen, our hats, our sunglasses, all of that. I think sun burns, like nobody enjoys them, but it also prevents you from enjoying the next couple of days because you don't want to be outside and you're uncomfortable. So it's worth staying protected, being smart, drinking as much water as you can, staying hydrated, being mindful of the times of when to go out, looking into the UV rays and what those levels are, just seeking shade. Remember the 10 to 4. If you have to be out, just using high SPF, reapplying, and making sure that you are keeping, your loved ones, kids, older adults, as well as pets and family in mind as well. And then keeping yourself and your food cool. So coolers are a great way of keeping foods fresh throughout the day. I'm also a big believer in things like vacationing. If you're going to go on vacation, it doesn't mean you have to go off your healthy eating. We just talked about all the fresh fruits and vegetables that don't require a lot of maintenance. You can stop on your way to the beach at the farmer's market and grab a whole bunch of fruits and vegetables to snack on for the week. You can pack in a cooler healthy lunches for the beach. Of course, everybody, we want you to enjoy a summer ice cream cone or whatever it may be. But just because you're not in routine doesn't mean you necessarily have to not eat as you normally would. All right. So we talked about a lot so far in this short amount of time. Give me 1 second. Let's kind of bring it all back together. So in Q2, we focused on protecting and maintaining our health. We looked at vision care, we looked at mental wellness, as well as our dental health. This quarter, we're shifting gears to talk about seasonal changes and prevention. So today, July, we focused on staying healthy, staying active, all while being summer smart as far as summer safety. In August, it's going to be all about back to school, supporting families, creating routines, emotional wellness as we transition into the fall. I swear, we just had our last day of school. It felt like yesterday. And when I was at Target, they already have back to school supplies out. It just goes so fast. And then in September, we'll spotlight prostate health, which is a critical issue for many adults, but benefiting from awareness and early screenings has proven to be very helpful and successful with outcomes. So together, these topics will help us stay well in every single season. Would love to know in the chat as we're kind of wrapping up and as I go into our Care First resources, what safety tips and or tricks will you practice this summer? Is it going to be things like getting higher SPF sunscreen? Are we going to start wearing hats? Are we going to be mindful of the 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.? Do you have any tips or tricks that you learned when it comes to protecting family, pets, little ones, anything with healthy food, bugs? We talked about ticks and bees and mosquitoes and summer safety. So would just love to know. A lot of you are saying sunscreen. Somebody said being like intentional and getting serious about it. I'm the same way. Like as much as I love a tan, I really love, you know, being healthy more. So we're not going less than SPF 30 this year. If we're going to do mostly 50 at the beach, 30 on, days when we're at lacrosse practice, we're going to get serious about protecting our eyes. That's not just for adults, it's for kids too. So my kids have sunglasses. Do dogs have sunglasses? I mean, they have little paw protectors. Maybe there's little puppy sunglasses. If not, somebody take that idea and run with it. Lots of sunscreen, sun shirts. I've seen dogs with sunglasses. Perfect. Yeah. Fruits and vegetables. Yes, it's the best time to get your kids to try it is during the summer. Like instead of a high fructose, fully sugared popsicle, which yes, tastes great, try this fresh cut watermelon, just it's the epitome of summertime. Bug spray, yep. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there also, and I'm not sure if they work, but one thing that's very helpful is those bracelets I've heard that they can wear to prevent mosquitoes. Checking UV before going out. I mean, these are all really great ideas, and hopefully it helps you to have hopefully it helps you to have a really happy and healthy summer. So last but not least, I just want to go into our Care First resources really quickly. I will always tell anybody who listens, Care First cares. And I truly mean it. We care about our members. We care about their families. We care about our community. And we will work a million hours a day if it would meant providing the best wellness benefits to our employees, our members, the community. So Care First Wellbeing is your one-stop shop for everything health and wellness. It is your go-to solution. You can access Care First Wellbeing via desktop and a web page or by downloading our app on your smartphone. Within Care First, you have the ability to take the Real Age Health Assessment, which is the most important step. The Real Age Health Assessment helps you identify if you're older than your real age, your calendar age, or if you're younger. And not only does it give you that piece of information, it then unlocks an individualized and customized experience so that what you see and hear and what is promoted to you is relevant. It's what means the most because it now knows you as a user. It's a really great health assessment. Within Care First Wellbeing, you also will have a personalized health timeline feed, endless amounts of articles, quizzes, insights, you name it. We have tracking capabilities, so you can sync your wearable devices and track activities that mean and matter the most to you. We have ongoing, engaging monthly challenges. Every user will have their own independent health profile where they can secure all their health data. And then we have additional programs. So our core well-being programs include, next slide, health coaching. We have two different pathways. We have lifestyle management coaching and disease management. These are telephonic programs where you are given a dedicated health coach to help you reach your health goals. We offer two weight management / diabetes prevention programs called Noom and Eat Right Now to help you reduce body weight or reduce your risk for diabetes. We have a smoking cessation program called Craving to Quit. It's a 21-day program. At Care First, hopefully you can tell we think about all different areas and domains of wellness. So it's not just, your physical well-being, but it's things like your mental health well-being, your financial well-being, your emotional well-being. So an example of that is our Smart Dollar program, which is a financial well-being program, which helps you regardless of where you are in your financial journey. And then we have Blue 365. So just because you are a Care First member, you have access to our exclusive discount program. And last but not least, and thank everybody. More Care First resources here. There's our Care First preventative care checklist. We have a very comprehensive health library, our care management programs, and you can scan the QR code just to learn more about Care First resources. I only went over by 3 minutes, but I just want to say thank you so much for attending Safe Fun in the Sun, our July Wellness Wednesday webinar. So glad that you have joined. Hopefully you learned something that you can share, pass on, and make the world a little bit more healthy. I wish you a happy and healthy July. Happy 4th of July. I cannot wait to see you guys back in August as we prepare for a new and healthy school year. Thanks so much, everyone.